All right. Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is with you. Nicholas Loise and Eric Lofholm here to talk about all things sales, all things conversions, all things magnetic marketing system. Eric, thank you for taking time out of your day today. I know you're busy running around, and we kind of caught you in between events as well as in between client in sales. So I always like talking to really, really bright sales gurus, consultants, practitioners, whatever phraseology we want to use for you, because I learn, right? And I like to take notes and I like to learn. And I know one of your longtime mentors and your coach, we were talking a little bit about this in pregame, is Dr. Moyne. And a lot of his work, and quite frankly, Eric, a lot of your work changed the way I really think about sales. A long time ago, you said something, and I think it's part of your core teaching, so I don't want to step on it right now, but you said something that changed my approach to sales. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for the work that you do. You've worked with 10,000 salespeople and responsible for $500 million of revenue. We should just kind of let that sit in a little bit. 10,000 salespeople have been trained by you, have been motivated by you, have been taught a system, because that's really what we're going to talk about today, and over $500,000 in revenue in 10 years. For those of you that know Eric, I don't really have to go into his background. For those of you that don't, I will. He kind of grew up in the Tony Robbins business, so Tony Robbins International. Ended up being, I believe, their number one salesperson, right?
Yeah, the team that I was on, there was a period of around 8 months where I sold everybody else on my team for that time frame.
All right. And then you went off on your own. But you, I believe it would be fair to say you're a teacher at heart, right? You love sharing, you love teaching, you love talking about all things sales and sales conversions. So that's really what we're going to talk about today. And that's really what's been his trajectory since 1999 with forming his own company. He works with large corporations and small corporations, but really it's, we're going to talk about really sales is sales, no matter who you're selling to or what you're selling for. But our audience really is small to mid-sized businesses. So let's get right into it. He's also the publisher of 10 books. One of them, the best-selling book that I have, I think there's 2 of them that I have on my iPad Kindle. But The System really is one of the best books I highly recommend. If you want to learn about the system that we're going to talk about today, that's a deep dive. So Eric, let's kind of get into it. Thanks for being with us. And most importantly, we talked about this, and you even were kind enough to allude to it at the beginning. We really are really good at teaching people how to market, right? So really putting a system, much like the magnetic marketing system, into place is what we advocate for. And marketing is a process and a system. But I believe, and I think you would agree, that sales is a process and a system, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news about it is that it can be learned.
Right.
It was taught to me, and once I learned it, I quickly became a top producer after struggling for an entire year. So the good news is for all of you that are watching this, you learn this and you can immediately increase your results. And I am a small business owner, like so many of you that are watching. I have a small sales team. I'm out driving leads just like you guys are. And I apply my sales methodology to drive revenue in my business. So I'm excited to talk about that.
So, I think the interesting thing that you said was it's a system. And once you learn the system, it changes your life. What was that? I mean, was it like the aha moment that says, I really need to find a different way, a better way? Because a lot of people just still, even though they need a system, they really kind of still struggle. So what was the aha moment or the linchpin, so to speak, to make you move to saying there's got to be a better way? How do I find, and most importantly, not just find, but incorporate a system into my selling process?
Yeah, I didn't realize early in my sales career that there was a methodology. And if you look at part of my worldview is that there are patterns. If you take a comedian and he does a comedy show in Chicago and people laugh, if he goes to New York, he goes to Miami, he goes to Dallas, they're going to laugh in all these other cities. And so there's patterns in business and there are patterns in sales. And I didn't understand this. So I went into sales and I would try this and I would try that. And I wasn't following any patterns of success. And then I had the good fortune of meeting Dr. Donald Moyne, who now is my mentor. And arguably the brightest sales mind living today. And he has a very methodical sales approach. And so once I learned that, I started applying these patterns, and my sales instantly skyrocketed. And because they were patterns, I would just continue to do it over and over and over again and produce predictable results. And so I love sharing that with people so they can discover these patterns if they haven't been taught this before, and really demystify the sales process so you can convert all those great leads you have coming in.
All right. So let's get into it. Let's kind of roll up our sleeves. What is the system? What are those patterns, and what's the system?
Yeah, there's several different ways of looking at it. And if we just start with the core system, it's 3 steps. So step number 1 is your sales model. And to me, what that has to do with is how many times are you going to meet with the prospect before you ask them to buy from you? So one of your clients runs your lead generation system. The lead comes in. So the question is, are they going to get on the phone? Let's say it's a phone appointment, and attempt to close that sale at the end of the first appointment, or are they going to meet with them, gather information, and then do a second appointment and then ask for the order? So that'd be a 1 call, 2 call close. Okay. Or are they going to meet with them 3 times, 1 call, 2 call, 3 call close? So the first thing that we need to determine, how many times are we going to meet with the prospect before we ask them to buy from you? The next step is, I call it the sales mountain. And the sales mountain is just another way of saying sales outline. And so I use sales mountain as a metaphor. And so you're a mountain climbing guide in this example, and you're leading and guiding your prospect up the sales mountain in order to ask them to buy from you. And so what we do is, let's say you're doing a 1 call, 2 call close. So the lead comes in, you meet with them once, and then you meet with them a second time, and then you ask them to buy from you. There's an outline for appointment number 1, and there's an outline for appointment number 2. And a lot of people don't know this. And so they get on appointment number 1 and they wing it. And then they get on appointment number 2 and then they wing it. So always remember that if you wing it, you get wing it results. And so for a lot of people, as they start learning this, it's a much higher level of preparation. So we put the outline together. Now we've got that in place. And then the third step is to script out each section of the outline. So for anybody watching this, if you figure out how many times you're going to meet with a prospect before we ask them to buy, even if it's just once, then you create the outline, and then you script out the outline, and you get that down, you should see an instant increase in your close ratio, and you should have that increase for the rest of your life.
So I agree with you on all 3 points. And the first thing I always say is, salespeople and even business owners really do wing it, and I don't understand why. So have you ever kind of delve into the psychology of why people do that, and kind of what's the rationale for doing that? And really, and the second part, or second question would be, what pushback do you get on them with scripting?
Yeah, I have to use scripts to get them to embrace my methodology.
There you go. I love it.
It starts with the stigma of sales. So there's a stigma of sales in our culture. And one of my success stories is a Glazer Kennedy client of your guys'. His name is Scott Southall. Okay. And he's a photographer and a videographer. Okay. And so he's attracted to your methodology to learn how to get all the leads.
Good.
Now he's got to put on his sales hat. So he's got all these leads and how to close them. So I started helping him, and he's like, Eric, I hate to sell. Like, I'll do the videography, the photography. That's what I love. I don't want to sell. So he has resistance to selling, which it's a pretty common thing, because if you ask people, and I've asked all over the world, what do you think of when you think of a salesperson? And the answers are arm twisting, high pressure, manipulation, used car sales, liar, slick, fast talker, etc. So if that's what you think of with selling, then you're going to resist it. So now I come along and say, script it out. And you're like, I don't even want to sell. So it starts with the mindset. And what I teach is selling equals service. Sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. So here's the deal. You can, on one hand, you can resist sales, or on the other hand, you can embrace sales. So between those two mindsets, which one is going to help you get to your ultimate financial destiny? And it's, of course, embracing sales. So it starts with letting go of sales resistance and embracing sales. When we get to
Eric, let me ask you a question, and I'll let you go to the second part. I'm sorry, but I just thought of this. You do a lot of work both in the United States but internationally. Is sales also a dirty word or different dirty phrase that people don't want to embrace it when you look at the international markets? Really? So
all over the world.
Really?
Singapore, Malaysia, Australia.
Okay.
It's the darndest thing. It's like in our culture, for some reason, somebody came up with this concept. Let's program the planet to resist sales. And if you think about it, it's like sales drives revenue. What do we all want in our businesses? We all want revenue. So why resist? You're going to resist a thing that's going to drive the revenue. But, that's just the way that our culture is programmed to think. And so first thing we do is we undo that. And you all watching this, you all logically understand embrace sales, embrace revenue. You get that it doesn't make any sense to resist it. And so then we start talking about scripting. And the problem with scripting is that people think of a script, and I've asked this question to people all over the world, and they think it's canned and rehearsed, mechanical, inauthentic. It's just not me. So they go in intentionally winging the presentation so they don't sound scripted. Or they hear about somebody like myself saying, hey, use a script. And like, I don't want that.
Right.
So we have to go to the definition of the script. The actual definition is words in sequence that have meaning. Words in sequence that have meaning. That's the definition of a script. And what that means is that if you're talking and making sense, you're using a script. So there's no reason to resist what you're already doing. So if you go and win your next presentation, according to the definition of a script, it's still a script. And so what the conversation is all about here, for those of you, if you truly have a desire to improve, it's about preparation. Preparation, preparation, preparation. We want to know what you're going to say, when you're going to say it, how you're going to say it, why you're going to say it. We've got to bring the benefits to life. We want to overcome the common objections in the body of the presentation. We want to find the want, need, or problem that the prospect has by asking probing questions. We want to have a clear idea of how we're going to close. So as you start doing these things, it's really not hard. It's not intuitive unless you're a naturally born sales superstar. So that's why the conversation we're having now is so valuable, and so for the right person, transformational, because it can get somebody the results they want like that, especially with an incredible marketing system like what all of you have.
Well, thank you. It's interesting, and I want to go back on the mindset, because I know you spend a lot of time on the mindset, then we'll go into the scripting stuff. But on the mindset, I just, I think I intuitively know the answer, but you work with big businesses as well as a lot of small to medium-sized business, and I know you work with a lot of our clients. And before they engage with you and you kind of get a handle on what their mindset is about selling, and do they go like this? I like that visual, right? Because you could just feel the person backing away when you're talking to them about selling, because marketing is soft and easy. It's fun. It's creative. It's the fun side of the business. Mm-hmm. Do you see a direct correlation between the income of the business owner and their lack of resistance or their resistance to the sales process?
It's interesting, and there's some gurus, and I'm not going to mention their names because everybody would know these names, right? So okay. me being in the sales training business, and I've been in it for 19 years, and I've worked with some of the best of the best, and right. So there's some big name gurus that have resistance to selling, and I just laugh. I'm like, what are you talking about? You're one of the best in the world at what you do, and yet you resist selling because the stigma is so strong within them. And so somebody could have resistance to selling, but they could have a great idea that makes a lot of money, and they could actually use sales skills. But if you ask them about it, they're like, well, I'm not selling. They reframed it in their mind. And so somebody can still be very successful financially with selling. but there's just no reason to, because if we just go to the simple concept of we're driving revenue in a business, you want to double your revenues, you want to get to $1 million a year in revenue, you want to get to 5 million, you want to build a $100 million company, we need a sales system
Right.
to do it. And so let's just embrace it, and then let's go out and serve clients.
Okay.
One of the things in my organization, we love on our clients. That's part of our culture. And so we're selling to them, but we're loving them. And sometimes it's customer service, and sometimes we're coaching them, and sometimes we're selling to them. Sometimes we need to sell to them so they buy a product that's going to make a difference in their life. And so I just think life in business is so much more fun if you don't have to walk around with this stigma to selling, and you can just embrace it. And it, like in Scott Southall's case, it made a huge difference for him. He's the client of yours that had the marketing systems down. And when he came to me, he was about to lose his studio, his photography studio, because he couldn't pay the rent. So we got his revenue up, and it's interesting. I did not tell him to do this, but he was selling a $500 product at the time. And he thought, why don't I sell a $5,000 a month product on a continuity? So a 12-month.
Sure.
So basically what he did is he took video. He's really good at video. And then he took your guys' marketing. And he said, let me go to companies doing 5 to 10 million a year in revenue, and I'm going to sell them a video marketing system to help them grow their business. So
Love it.
when he came to me, he was uncomfortable with a $500 sale.
Right.
And I taught him the methodology. Now, I wish I gave him the idea to go to the $60,000 product. That was all his idea. But I got him comfortable with the sales methodology, and then he did that on his own. He ended up moving into a larger studio in a better location, hired an employee because we got his revenue up. So,
So your system that you teach, because I know your system, and I've been through your training a number of times, and kind of watching you from close up and afar, because you approach it from selling a service, right? So people could grasp their arms around it. I gotta believe that it's just easier for them to embrace this type of system versus, we won't name names, but the old school, let's put a guy in a headlock and they're going to buy or die type thing. And you have a different approach. So let's kind of get into what your system, which we're alluding to. What is it? So we talked about the 3 steps and the sales mountain, and then the need for scripting. Is there more? There's got to be more to that. So what else is there?
Well, from a tactical standpoint,
right.
There's really not a lot more to it, because you have a lead coming in. Let's just take like a real estate agent. People can relate with that because most people watching this have had an experience with a realtor.
Sure.
So the realtor has their marketing system, and they run their system, and then the person's ready to sell their house. So the realtor books a listing presentation.
Okay.
And it's likely going to take place in the living room of the prospect.
Okay.
And so what that realtor has to decide first and foremost is, am I going to ask for the listing at the end of the first appointment, or am I going to do the first appointment and then come back a second time and then ask for the listing? And I've had realtors do it both ways.
Okay.
So they get that level of clarity. They put the script together. And like, here's one technique that pretty much anybody watching, you could do this. It's called an agenda script. And so what you do early on in your presentation, after you built trust and rapport, is you say something like this. What I'd like to do now is share with you how our appointment's going to go tonight. First, I'm going to ask you some questions to find out what's most important about the sale of your home. Then I'm going to share with you a market analysis of what other properties have sold for in the area. Then I'll share my vision of how I'll successfully market and sell your property. And then at the end of our time together tonight, you'll have the opportunity to hire me as your real estate agent if you feel comfortable. And if not, then no problem. Sound good? And then the person goes, sounds good. So I just, in effect, I set up the sales call. I set up the expectation that I'm going to ask for the order at the end. I set up the structure of what it is that I'm going to do. Well, that realtor who builds rapport and then does that agenda script and then asks a series of probing questions that they've hopefully scripted out, goes through the market analysis in a systematic way, shares their vision of how they'll sell the property, and then gets to the close and walks them through how the prospect can hire them. And they just they basically do that same thing over and over and over and over and over in home after home after home after home after home. And if they'll just have the discipline to put that together, it could like swing their finances millions of dollars over their career. And it literally is that simple, but it takes discipline. You have to have somebody like myself teach it to you. And then once you have it down, you've got to take the time to work out, what is the outline? What are the scripts? And then once you have it down, that realtor's got it for the rest of their career.
And so, everybody, okay, conceptually, the person that's watching this gets that. But the first script out of the chute isn't the most successful script unless they're just really rocket, hit, gold in a bottle, so to speak. So how long do you see the average person spend on refining their scripts for each stage of the mountain? Right, it's the mountain, right? The sales mountain. Right.
Yeah, I don't really have an answer to that, but I guess one way to compare it is kind of like marketing, right? Okay. So you write the sales letter, you do the video letter, you do the autoresponder, you do the ad, right? And you're tweaking, and the methodology is similar in that way, right? Where you're tweaking it. And when I originally, I spoke for your group at the Super Conference back in 2011. And when I spoke there, I had a brand, my core brand is the Protege program. I had different levels of my Protege program. Sure. And I launched that brand in 2003. And I just recently changed the branding. So now my brand is under Elite Sales instead of Protege. Well, it took me 14 years. And I finally came, well, that's a better brand, right? So the tweaking can happen very early on.
Okay.
The good news is you can start seeing an increase in your sales, like immediately. It doesn't mean you're going to have the perfect pitch, but you have a more well thought out presentation. You could expect a higher close ratio in 30 days or less by applying this methodology. And then it's just a matter of continuous improvement as you're observing how are prospects responding. And so that's my best answer for that one.
Okay. All right, so they get it. They write their scripts out. They kind of first they have to decide on their model, right? So the average person, for those that are getting on late, they have to kind of define what their business model is. And when we say business model, in Eric's terminology, it's really, is it a one-call close? Is it a two-call close? Is it a multi-step close, right? So if you're selling enterprise software, it's not going to be a one-step close. It's going to be a multi-step close. You're going to do a lot of fact-finding missions. You're going to learn, kind of what the wants and needs are of every department within an organization. And then from there, they're going to go through the sales mountain. You may want to, we'll go through that. Changed my approach to sales was you're really, really, really big on scripting the close, right? And know that down. So let's kind of talk through the sales mountain and the importance of scripting the close.
Yeah. So one day I started teaching what I'm about to share with all of you right now. I call it the sales mountain. And I don't know if I read it in a book or if it just came to me in my sleep or something. I can't remember when I got it, but I'm like, wow, that's a really great way of explaining the sales process. And so I teach what I call generic sales mountain. Everybody is taught sales mountain the same way. And then what you do is you take what I'm about to share with you, you got to ask yourself, how does this apply to my situation? So if you could draw it in your notes if you wanted to, those of you that are watching this, you draw a mountain in your notes, and at the base of the mountain on the lower left-hand side, it starts with lead generation. And so I'll just draw it here and
you can keep on going, and I could draw it on the whiteboard for everybody.
Perfect. So at the base of the mountain, at the bottom, is lead generation.
Okay. So that's right here.
Here's what that would look like. There's the mountain, okay? And then we go a little bit up the mountain, and the next step is appointment setting.
Okay.
So it's lead generation and appointment setting.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to have you draw a line separating the top 25% of the mountain from the bottom 75%. So if you look at mine here, you'll see that line there.
Okay.
And so
I got a hill. So I got you. Okay, go ahead. I did that.
Yeah. Okay. So that top 25% of the mountain, I call that the sweet spot.
Okay.
And that's where the prospect is ready to make a buying decision. So a prospect is not ready to buy until they're in the sweet spot. So the job of you when you're selling is to lead them up the sales mountain into the sweet spot where they're ready to make a buying decision. So it goes lead generation, appointment setting, and the next one, now we're on the live presentation, is trust and rapport.
Okay.
Trust and rapport. And then the next step is identify customer needs.
Okay.
And then it's share the benefits.
Okay.
And then it's close, and the close happens in the sweet spot.
Okay.
And then it's objection handling, and that's also in the sweet spot.
Okay.
And then it's follow-up, and that's midway up on the right side of the sales mountain.
Okay.
And so to keep it really simple, what this is teaching is you can create an outline for any presentation.
Okay.
And the sequence, the word sequence is one of the 5 most important words in sales. And this is true in marketing. You know, when you look at a marketing sequence, how the lead comes in and what's the next thing you do with the lead, and then the next thing and the next thing, and then eventually you have an appointment with them. And so marketing sequence is something you guys are all learning already through the Glazer Kennedy organization. Well, sales sequencing is the order that presentation goes in. The next key thing about this methodology is you can break it down into individual steps. So just like in marketing, you have the ad that you're running. You have the landing page. You have the opt-in. You have the autoresponder. You have the survey, like all the different things. Well, in selling, you can break it down as well. So identifying customer needs. And you can look at just that and think of it like this. A chain is as strong as its weakest link.
Okay.
So I can look at identifying customer needs, and I can forget everything else in the sales mountain. And I can ask myself, how can I get better at this one thing? And I get stronger at that one thing, which makes the overall presentation more persuasive. Then I can look at share the benefits. How can I bring the benefits to life in a more effective way? If I get better at that one link in the chain, it makes the overall presentation more persuasive. Well, here's the concept. What if you get better at all of it? What if you get better at setting the appointment, trust and rapport, identifying the needs, sharing the benefits, closing, objection handling, and follow-up? You predictably will increase your sales skills. You'll predictably increase your closing ratio. And that's what this conversation is. It's teaching you how to practice. So here's like a golden nugget, practical idea anybody watching right now could do. So here's how the script would go. It's for probing questions. And you'd say, for me to best help you, I need to ask you a few questions about your situation. Would that be okay? So if I'm the realtor, for me to best help you, I need to ask you a few questions about the sale of your home. Would that be okay? If I'm selling consulting, for me to best help you, I need to ask you a few questions about what's going on inside of your organization. Would that be okay? And they're going to say yes to that because that's a language pattern that guides the prospect to say yes. That's called the repeated yes technique. So there's all these different scripting techniques that anybody can learn with proper training that you can layer into a presentation to make it more persuasive. Then you follow up, for me to best help you, I need to ask you a few questions. Would that be okay? And you followed up with, in preparation of our meeting, I made a list of questions. And with your permission, Nick, one of the sweetest sounds of somebody's to their ears is their first name. So with your permission, Nick, I'd like to go through the questions and take notes. Would that be okay with you? And you're going to go, sure, that's fine, because I'm here to help you, right? I'm trying to sell you, so I'm going to help. I'm going to ask you questions. Now, I'm going to sit here with my notepad, and I'm going to be taking notes of all these key things that you're going to tell me, and that's going to deepen my rapport with you because you're going to appreciate the fact that I'm prepared and I'm taking notes. So now you don't even have to have the probing questions memorized. You can just have them with you. And if you take the time to script out your probing questions, you will increase your closing ratio. Now, over the weekend, I was hired by a company. They were doing a sales retreat in Lake Tahoe. And they rented out this really cool 14-bedroom house, and they stayed overnight, and they did all this cool stuff. And they brought me in as an outside speaker to share some great, fresh ideas. This particular group, the newest guy to sales in the room had been in sales for 10 years. Okay, so they're all experienced, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. So they're bringing me in to train these seasoned sales pros. And so I say to them, I want you guys to script out your probing questions. And I was teaching them what I'm teaching you right now. At the end of the training, we go around the room. What was the best idea you got? And this one guy had been selling probably for 20 years. Said, Eric, the best idea you gave me was to script out my probing questions. So as simple as it is, he hadn't done it, and he'd been selling for 20 years.
Sure.
So any of you can do this, and it'll make you more effective. Now, when we get to the close, this is an area where so many people have a challenge because, and my client, Scott, who's your client too, a big part of his concern, because he had so much resistance to selling, he didn't want to ask for the order. And so it's like, all right, Scott, what we're going to do is I'm going to script out the close so you know exactly what to say. And then you're going to practice it. You're going to role play it, is what I told him to do. So I give him the close. I help him. We script the thing out. And then I say, I want you to role play this with your wife 10 times between now and our next coaching session. Can you do that? He's like, sure, no problem. So I get on the coaching session with him a couple weeks later. We're on the phone. I'm like, Scott, did you do what I asked you to do? Did you go through the close 10 times with your wife? And he goes, I did. I said, awesome. So what happened? He said, to make sure I had it down, I practiced it 200 times on my own.
Good
now, I didn't tell him to do that, but he was like, he wanted to really get it down. I said, great, what happened? He said, I got with the first prospect, and I delivered the close for the first time live. And I was so nervous, I goofed it all up.
Oh, no.
And I said, well, what happened? He said, they still bought from me because I was more clear than I had ever been.
Okay. All right. So they're a positive outcome.
But here's the thing, though. That was the first time he did it. The next time, a little bit less nervous.
Sure.
The next time, after 10 times, he's like, I got this.
Good.
So anybody that's watching this, if you're uncomfortable in the close, script it out, practice it, you role play it. After you've delivered it live 10 times, you'll probably be very comfortable. I am not asking you to be robotic. I'm not asking you to be word for word. I'm asking you to be prepared and then just show up over the phone or face-to-face or however you say. Just be with the prospect. But you're going to know what to say because you practice it and you're prepared. And you can get very comfortable asking for the order. And for Scott, this was a game-changing thing. All
right. So we got it. And I think the unnaturalness of people thinking that the script is going to make them robotic. Because I appreciate your terminology and your verbiage on that, because people will think they get themselves out of the unnaturalness and anything of that nature. And one of the favorite things that I like to do is watch movies, right? I don't know if you like movies or sitcoms or things of that nature, but a lot of times you see the outtakes, right? And the outtakes sometimes are the funniest because they're kind of playing around or they're goofing around. But you realize that many people, though they have a script and the actor, they get paid a lot of money to really perform, to deliver their performance, they're reading a script. Now, they're making the script their own, right? So you see them in some outtakes that they're taking on different verbiages and they're playing off of the other person. And in essence, that's what you're teaching people to do, correct? You're teaching people to really write a script, create the script, make the script their own, give it in front of a mirror, You asked X amount of times, 200 times. I think that's great as overachiever. Then do it in front of a live person, as a warm audience, right? So a spouse, a loved one, a parent or something of that nature if you're a younger person, and then take it from there and take it on the road. And the first couple ones, just like the first comedian going out to do a show, isn't going to be perfect the entire time, but they're going to find what the audience reacts to. In our audience is the sales prospect reacts to, and then you're going to be adjusting your script. But the key is to adjust it, and having that script allows you, even if you fumble through it, even if you don't perform well, it allows you to be very clear on where you want to go, right? So it's kind of a linear path. I don't want to minimize it. I'm trying to sum it up for our members and our audience. Is that in essence the reason why, and the most important reason why a scripting has to happen?
Yeah, and it's hard to imagine. Anybody can imagine what it would be like delivering a powerful script. But I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I spoke on your guys' stage, and there was about 1,000 people in the audience, and I was so fired up. I could not wait to get in front of that audience because I knew I had a great script. And so I could be powerful, I could be confident, I could be present with the audience. I didn't have to be word for word.
Sure.
But I absolutely knew without a shadow of a doubt I was going to knock it out of the park. And so there's a power. It's like using the comedian example. If the comedian's got a great routine, and they just crushed it in New York, right? They're down in Miami getting ready. And I can't wait to get in front of that group because I know they're going to laugh because I put the work in. And the thing about people, human beings respond in predictable ways.
Okay.
So I've used the realtor example a couple times. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. And this methodology of preparation works in any industry. The realtor who has a phenomenal listing presentation can't wait to get in front of them. It doesn't mean they're going to close every time.
Sure.
But they know they're going to be prepared. They know they're going to bring the benefits to life. They know exactly how that presentation is going to go. And then the person's they're going to sign the listing agreement or they're not. It's true for a coach. It's true for a consultant. I've got a presentation coming up with a company that's considering hiring me. And I've done an effective job at identifying what their problem is. And I can't wait to give that presentation. So
sure.
I want you all just to imagine that. Imagine you can't wait to give the sales presentation because you prepared it. And you know it's on point. It doesn't mean you close every sale. And that's what I love, just sharing this with people. And it's in part creating a hope for people. It's like, wow, I've never been good at sales. But the way you're explaining it, Eric, you make it sound doable, and it really is.
All right, so let's talk a little bit too about the importance of not scripts, not only for, we're talking about kind of the sole proprietor, so you're kind of the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the doer of everything, but maybe you have a staff, right? And so the importance of really scripting there becomes magnified 10 times because you really want the staff to be on point of doing the best job possible of fact finding, right, through probing questions, and then moving the person through presentation or solutions, or here's the discovery that we're going to put in front of you, and then move them towards close. So scripting becomes, I believe, even more magnified when you are dealing with a sales staff, or if you're a dentist, your front desk staff, or whoever's doing the presenting of findings. If you're in a chiropractor or something of that nature, they need to be scripted even more importantly, so that they get the point across, use the terminology and verbiage that you really hone in your script to motivate people to buy and then move forward, because they don't have the benefit of being the business owner, the doctor, the physician, that type of thing, that just has the authority from being in the room. So scripting with the staff even becomes more responsible, correct?
Yeah, I mean, think about, let's just say you offer financing to your clients.
Sure.
Payment plans, very common, right? You're a dentist and you have a monthly payment, and the patients, they're behind on their payments. So somebody's got to do that collection call. So you have a gal at the front desk, and you ask her to do the call, and she's going to go, well, what should I say? And if you don't give that person their talk track, then they're going to say whatever they're going to say, and it might not be what you want them to say.
Right.
You hire a new person. You hire an appointment setter. What's the first thing what you hire? They're going to go, the appointment setter's going to go, so what do you want me to tell them?
Yeah, where's the script? Yeah.
You hire a salesperson. They go, well, so how do you want me to represent your company? How do you want me to tell the company story? So, you know, what the script does, if you have a team, creates a consistency within your organization. And there are common sales challenges that come up with any company. And we haven't talked yet about storytelling, but storytelling is one of the most effective ways that you can bring benefits to life and overcome an objection. And so documenting your stories, that's something we can talk about today. We can go a little deeper too on how do you structure a close? You know, what is the way to actually write a winning close? Those are two different ideas.
Yeah, I think we got scripting and the importance of scripting pretty hard. And if they, I mean, we let's go through that. Let's go through the importance of a close. What are the key points of closing? How to kind of move that. And if we have time, we could do storytelling also. But you know, we promised them, hey, you got a great system in magnetic marketing, and if you haven't taken the time to purchase it, now's the time. The button's off to the right, or give us a call at 1-800-871-0147. Once again, 1-800-871-0147, or the button right off to your right, which I believe is yellow, or blue, that says buy now. Click on that button. So the importance is marketing system, which is the first start of what you said is lead generation, right? So here's leads. We got to get leads in the system. This system will help you get leads. You even talked about using some examples of customers and clients that are mutual, that we both use. And hey, I got the lead system down because I'm following magnetic marketing. Now I get it. I need to script all my entire process. Now I'm going in for the money. I'm going in for the close. What are the key components in that close that have to happen?
So part of how I look at things is we dissect things down. So we're dealing with smaller sections. So the close, we're going to break it down into 3. Number 1, transition into the close. Number 2, the body of the close. And number 3 is the final close. So the transition, at some point in a sales presentation, you've got to pivot and say, okay, now we're going to get down to business and talk about the money. Right. So I like to use a transition statement like, what I'd like to do now is share with you how I work with clients like yourself. So if you're a consultant, you're a coach, regardless of your industry, what I'd like to now is share with you the next step if we're to work together. It's just a way of saying to them, we're going to talk about doing some business now. Okay. Then the body of the close is where you're going to cover all the details of the offer. So it could be things like price, what's included, guarantee, warranty, method of payment, terms of payment. So method of payment would be like which credit cards you accept, or we take checks or cash. Terms of payment, half down, half on delivery, this number of monthly payments. So we want to list all that out. And then the final close is the ask. Okay. And so when you're selling one-on-one, after you've given all this great information, we're going to ask for the order and we're silent. So it could be as simple as, are you ready to move forward today? And then you're silent. I've closed a lot of coaching business by saying, I let them know I'm looking for 7 clients early in the presentation. And I simply say, would you like to be one of the 7 clients that I work with?
Okay.
And I'm silent. Okay. And so what that does is it creates a predictable response. They're going to either say yes if you ask earlier and you're silent, or no, or they're going to give you an objection. And it's totally predictable. So the core point of the close, there's a structure to it. We want to break it down. Ideally, we want to script it. We want to practice the script, not be robotic, just be present with the prospect. And when you're selling one-on-one, the way I do it, ask for the order at the end and then be silent.
So we did a test, right? So everybody could see the power of that. We put a phone call in the middle of this presentation. It didn't even phase Eric. He just went right through it. And it was actually somebody on that said, hey, I want to be one of those 7. How do I get a hold of them? So, put it in the call. So I mean, if that doesn't show the people that are on this and watch this later, because I know we're going to send it out to the audience, if that doesn't show you the power of scripting, the power of being never present, Eric's going through his teachings and a phone call got in the middle of it, didn't even miss a beat. He just kept on going. So that was a test. You passed very well. You did a great job. The guy before you didn't do well. So you did a wonderful job on that. But no, the importance of that. So we're going to transition. And that transition, if not done well, could be awkward. And do you find people stumble over the transition equally as much as the final, or it can be difficult if the person doesn't set it up properly?
That's the point.
Right.
So to start with, they're uncomfortable, right? They're going through the presentation. In the back of their mind, they're going, uh-oh, I'm getting closer to the end. I'm going to have to ask for the money. And they start getting nervous. And some people, they're one person in the presentation, like this totally different person.
Gotcha.
About the money. And so we want to get you comfortable with that. And that it's exactly what you said. It's setting up the call properly. That's why an agenda script is such an effective tool, where you let them know, here's how the appointment's going to go. And at the end of the call, I'll share with you how my coaching program works. And if you feel comfortable, you have the opportunity to hire me as your coach, as an example. So we set the call up. It's going to relax you, so you're not going to be nervous. And, you create a speed bump, a hurdle in the sales process if you're being awkward when it comes to the money, right?
Right.
This chiropractor one time, I went in on a coupon. So it's like $99 X-ray initial visit. He got me with the marketing. So I'm there. And I'm there because I'm new to town and I'm looking for a chiropractor. Okay. I'm about as easy a sale as you could have. And so we go through the visit. He gets to the end, and instead of explaining, so what I'd like to do now is share with you how I work with patients like yourself. I'd like to recommend this treatment. Would you like to move forward? And I would have probably said, sure. And so he didn't do that. He gets to the end and he goes, do you have any questions? And no. And he said, well, would you like to move forward? And I wasn't trying to be funny, but I'm like, with what? Like, he hadn't even made an offer yet. And it was so awkward, and I could tell he was so uncomfortable, and it made me feel uncomfortable, and I just wanted to hire a chiropractor. Right. It was like this whole weird thing. And I'm like, how long have you been a chiropractor? And he goes, I'm in my 20th year. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you've been causing all these problems for yourself, because he was just totally like this about selling, and he didn't have to be.
Do you teach your clients? We try to do that with ours, is to tape themselves, right? Because they'll take on a different physiology. If it's over the phone, they'll take on a different voice inflection. They'll start talking faster when it comes time to the close. So everybody knows that it's time for the close, and it becomes very awkward. Or like you said, I thought of the terminology. You said they become a different person. We call that Jekyll and Hyde, right? It's like, holy cow, where did this person come from?
Right. Who's this guy?
Yeah, this isn't who I've been bonding with. So you built a rapport with Dr. Hyde, and then Dr. Jekyll came in, and it was completely different. And it becomes they are uncomfortable, and that's why I was asking the questions if different cultures find it uncomfortable. But so all right, so they're ready for the close. There's a transition into doing the close. There's the body of the close, which is where you take care of the mechanics of the payment and the mechanics of the close. If we move forward, these are the things you're going to have to deal with. And then the final, which is the close. I'm looking forward to, in my consulting practice, I'm looking forward to take on clients. I'd like for you to be one of those next ones. Would you like to move forward with it? Something like that. Is that how you have? Yeah. And then you don't say anything. And how long should they allow for that awkward silence to be there? Forever?
Yeah. So it's an interesting point, because when we ask for the order and we're silent, the other person's processing.
Right.
And like, if you're asking somebody to do a $100,000 deal, they might need a little bit of time, right? They're not trying to play a game. Would you like to move forward? And you just ask them to make a $100,000 decision, and they're just processing it. So what you want to do is, in a perfect world, you train yourself that it's not the awkward silence. It's just, you're just thinking, you say, so are you ready to move forward? And in your mind, if they're taking their time to respond, you're just going, they just need a little bit of time to give me an answer. Because if I say, are you ready to move forward? And then I'm silent, it empowers them. They have to answer. So if I ask you, Nick, to buy from me and I'm silent, you're talking first. Like, it's just not a possibility. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to be silent, and I'm just going to wait however long it is. And it's not going to be awkward for me. I'm just waiting because I know you need time to make your decision. And sometimes it's in 30 seconds or less, and sometimes it's longer. But if all of you can just train yourself, you deliver this great presentation, you're asking for the order, and you're just giving them the space to make the decision.
And it gets magnified because of their silence. It's probably not as long as you actually think it is, right? I mean, because silence, we want to fill that void because we've just put our heart and soul into this presentation. Hopefully we've done everything that Eric's taught you. You scripted it, you know all the points you've done right. And now, we're actually putting ourselves on the line. If we're a sole proprietor, we're asking them to do business with us. So there is a level of nerve wracking. But I think what your point was so well taken is, hey, the person just needs to process. They just need to decide, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Now, when can I start? You don't know what's going on in their mind. And then all of a sudden you want to run to jumping in and helping them solve questions.
Yeah, and that energy that's pulling you,
right?
It's pulling them.
Right.
So that there's a magic in ask and be silent. It's not Eric's rule. That's just the way it works. You just ask for the next step, and then you're silent. And that you want to fill the silence. They want to fill the silence too. And so it's going to compel them to respond.
Sure.
And sometimes, we need to do that to get them to take that next step and hire us or whatever the case may be. So almost all my one-on-one sales, ask for the order, I'm silent, it works. After you get good at it, it becomes not awkward. Maybe at first it is because it's a new muscle for you, but once you have the muscle down, it's a piece of cake, and it really will help you benefit from all the marketing. I mean, GKIC, they're world renowned at what they do at teaching you guys lead generation systems. And marketing is critical for any business. I mean, you take all these sales skills, if you don't have any leads to sell to, it's a moot point. So, you have the opportunity through your education with GKIC to learn this incredible information with their magnetic marketing program, step-by-step system to teach you how to just have all these incredible leads coming in a systematic way. So you do that, and then after you have the leads come in, that's where my methodology comes in.
I thought it was, I was thinking, going back to the chiropractor that you were kind of interviewing when you first got to town. And I was thinking how much money he wasted, right? By not having a selling system, one like you're teaching, right? So he could have spent all the money in the world with the Valpaks of the world and the local newspapers and Google and Facebook, and you name the media source du jour of the day, right? He could have spent. He did. He spent hundreds of thousands of dollars over the course of 20 years. Yeah. And just because, in essence, he's leaving money on the table. And the reason why I love this part of the conversation, the sales portion of the conversation, one is it's really where marketing is great, right? But it's really sales is where the money gets put in the cash register. So marketing is money coming out of the cash register to invest, to buy, and you need leads, and you need to have a good source of lead generation. You need a system, much like the magnetic marketing system that we talk about. And if you don't have it, invest now to put it into place. But all the leads don't matter if you can't close them, right? If you don't have a system and process to close them, whether you're doing it yourself as the business owner, which we highly recommend in the beginning, so that way you know the scripts, and then you could start passing it over to staff so you could replicate yourself in systems and processes. But without a system to close, this is talk about maximize your return on investment of your marketing dollars. That's what we're teaching you how to do by closing the sale. You're leaving money on the table because of the fact that you got leads coming in. He's probably thinking, well, this lead source that you came from, if he didn't close you, it's no good. Well, it wasn't the media's fault. It wasn't the marketing's fault. It wasn't the system's fault. It was because he didn't have a system to close. And so that, is it's like you're getting to the 10-yard line. And if yesterday was football, it's Sunday, today's Monday. It's like in the 10-yard line, say, you know what, we're not going to bring it in the end zone. Forget it. We're going to leave the ball right here. You guys take it over from here. So this is really kind of bringing the sweet spot in. And we all get in business for our own reasons and for many reasons, but also is to be in control of our time as well as money. And it's an investment. And for many of us, it's the best and the only source of income as well as retirement for us. So you want to maximize that investment. And if you have systems and processes in place, much like a marketing system with magnetic marketing and a closing system like Eric is talking about, that's going to magnify your exit, right? Or your multiple, because when a new owner is coming in to buy, they're going to say, listen, we got marketing systems. All you have to do is follow these marketing systems. And here's the sales process and systems that our sales team goes under. And really all you need to do is monitor and check it. So this is a way to maximize your marketing ROI, right? And just to put more money in your pocket, because you're leaving money on the table. And I don't know about you, Eric, but I hate leaving money on the table. And it's painful. So let's do a transition to the close, right? We'll talk about the final, and then we'll talk about storytelling. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So if you haven't taken the time yet to invest in magnetic marketing, I really want you to. One is because I believe it's one of the best systems and processes out there. It's helped me in my sales career. So like Eric, where I kind of found my way to him, I was a salesperson. This put my lead generation on autopilot, so I didn't have to cold call. It allowed me to have a constant, steady flow of leads. Eric, we find that when people have more leads in their pipeline, they close better. They close at a much higher rate. And studies show the more leads you have in your system and pipeline, it allows you to close at a much higher percentage, right? So everybody kind of maximizes their closing rate percentage. So what is this? It's the system itself. So it's the training of Dan Kennedy in a workbook format. So it's the why and the how, teaching you how to create your system. And then there is the GKIC vault, right? So there's this vault that has thousands upon thousands it's hundreds of ads that allow you to kind of go through, beg, borrow, and steal. And then there is the GKIC toolkit, where you could then walk through, and it comes on a USB drive, and you just have to put it in your computer, and you change all of the ads that you need, all of the freestanding inputs, the coupon like Eric was talking about with the chiropractor. That's all there in this system, and just put it in place. We also have magnetic internet marketing, right? So we got the magnetic internet marketing system, which teaches you how to maximize Facebook, which teaches you how to maximize Google. It teaches you how to maximize LinkedIn for lead generation, right? So if you sell B2B, I was just watching this today. So 2/3 of all business lead generation is being done on LinkedIn when you talk about social media. If you're not on social media and you're selling B2B and you're not on LinkedIn, you're leaving money on the table. So this system tells you how to do that. I want you to buy now, 1-800-871-0147. Once again, 1-800-871-0147, or click on the blue button that says add magnetic marketing to your cart today. So just click on the blue button or give us a call. Eric, I'll let you grade me on that close, but we're going to talk about storytelling. How's that? No phone calls during mine. I think that
No, that was great. And one of the things Dan Kennedy has been recognized as one of the top marketers my entire career. I've been in business for 25 years. And so you're talking about some of the most powerful ideas that exist in marketing. And, you need more leads. You want to grow your business. This is a great way to get the education in order to do it. So encourage you to take action. You can hit that buy button right now and sign up for the program. And what was the last thing that you wanted me to talk about?
I want to talk about the importance of storytelling.
So what happens is,
go ahead.
In a presentation, one of your most powerful tools is storytelling, because the prospect, oftentimes they have resistance to you because they view you as a salesperson. And so when you're telling stories, a lot of times they literally forget that they're in a sales presentation. And you can drive your points home by embedding the benefits of your product or service into the story and objections into the story. And so the simple formula when you're telling a success story in the body of your presentation, step number one, what's the problem that the prospect had? So my client, Scott Southall, who's also a GKIC client, his problem was he's running a GKI system. All these leads are coming in, and he's having a hard time closing. So that was his problem. The solution, he ended up getting involved with me and receiving training from me. So step number 2 is, what's the product or service that they bought? So he purchased a coaching program with me. Step number 3, what's the result that it produced? So for Scott, he got professionally trained in sales. He became comfortable asking for the order, and he was able to increase his income, keep his studio, and then ultimately move into a larger studio, which is point number 4, which is called the benefit of the benefit. So the result was his sales went up. The benefit was he moved into a larger studio. So that's a simple little formula for how to tell a success story. And once you script it out, you can tell the same story over and over and over and over and over again. I've told the Scott Southall story in my career probably 200 or 300 times, the same story. So once you get your stories down, you might start with an initial goal of, say, 3 stories, and then build it up to, say, 7 stories. And you just tell the same stories. It's new for the prospect. It's not new for you because you've got it down. So that's a simple but powerful idea to make your sales presentations more persuasive.
The reason why I love doing these type of interviews is, I learn, right? I'm taking notes. That was really powerful stuff that you just shared with our listeners, Eric. And really, it's a way for you to tell the transformation, but tell it through a third party, even though it's not the third party telling it. So it's an implied endorsement, So talk a little bit about, kind of what's the problem, then what's the product or service that the person bought from you, the investment that they made, what did they invest in, then what's the result, and then what's the benefit of the benefit, right? So kind of the 4 steps to the story. And we always talk about an evergreen marketing campaign, right? Or an evergreen marketing ad. In essence, this is an evergreen story that's part of your sales presentation, right? And so that way you're not making up a new story each time. You don't have to come up with a new person and a new transformation that the person came through. You're told, like you said, you've told this one of the member that we both share together 200 plus times. And so the important thing is
the other day I had a photographer come to me and he goes, I want you to teach me how to do what you did for that guy Scott, right? And so that's what happens. If you sell to dentists,
right,
you get a couple of dentist stories. Now I'm selling like GKIC, all different types of industries. But if you happen to be niched, you tell stories about it's so persuasive.
Right. So, all right. Well, I love it. So an example of this would be, you want to run an example or you want me to try one and you could grade me on that? How do you want to do an example?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
All right. So an example would be for, let's say, a chiropractor. Mr. Loise, I know you came in for back pain. Mr. Jones, who lives in the neighborhood, was on the road a lot like you were. So he spent a lot of time in airports, as well as spending a lot of time in different hotel rooms. So he had, chronic back problem in the lower back, which we see that you have the same thing, through a series of treatment, right? So we kind of put him on a course and a treatment of X amount of times. He was diligent about following the regimen. He spent a lot of the time with us, as well as doing the follow-up exercises. After the end of 3 months with us, he was free of back pain. He's now been traveling. He continues to stay on his road. His job takes him on the road a lot like you do. And he is free of back pain for the last 4 to 5 years. He comes in maybe once in a while just to kind of get a minor adjustments and check everything out to make sure everything's in line. But he's living a life free of back pain, which is what we want for you to do. So what we'd like you to do is kind of move forward today. What we're outlining is a series of sessions that will be 3 months. With that, there'll be in between each session will be some exercises that we're going to teach you how to do in the office. The staff's going to teach you how to do that, but you're going to have to do that on your own because we want you to have the same freedom of back pain like Mr. Jones. Is this something you'd like to move forward with today? So is that kind of how it would look like?
You have the essence of it, and here's just a couple of things that all the listeners and the watchers of the training today can get value from. So when you first start telling a story, you can say, let's say the client's name, the success story is about Bob Jones.
Okay.
So Bob came in for an initial consultation,
okay,
just like what you're doing today.
Perfect.
So
Love it.
Pacing statement.
Right.
Okay. Then if you have it, you go benefit of the benefit. So
Okay.
he came in, he did the 90-day treatment, and Bob had not attempted to pick up a golf club in over 10 years because of fear of pulling his back. And he's back out playing golf once a week now. And he is so grateful for the opportunity to be back out on the course again. So that's a benefit of the benefit.
Gotcha.
And then what I would do, when you're structuring the presentation, I wouldn't have the success story so close to the close.
Okay.
So it would be like you would tell the story, and then after the story's done, you just go right back to the presentation, and then you get to the transition, and then you take them through the close. But you did a great job of picking up the essence of what I was teaching, and if you hone that down, then you just do it over and over. So the chiropractor, every time he talks to somebody that issue, he tells that story, and then he puts a nice close to it, and it's like all of a sudden this thing that was creating all this stress for the chiropractor, it's a piece of cake, and he can't wait to work all the leads that you're helping the chiropractor get because they're ready to close them.
I really love this process that you put forth throughout the entire time that we've been together, Eric. But the reason why I love this last part is most of our clients and your clients get in business because they want to help people, right?
Yep.
And this allows, let's use the chiropractor, we'll stay with him because that's kind of who we started talking about. This allows the chiropractor just to share the good work that they do. That's all it does. And then it just says, I want to do the same for you. I have Mr. Jones who's now playing golf once a week with his wife and kids, and the family's bonding together like they've never have. And if he didn't go through this, if he didn't allow us the opportunity to make him feel better, then he wouldn't be able to have this wonderful lifetime experience. He's going to carry these memories with his family forever. And I just want the same for you. And this allows, it stops this, I believe. I'm glad that this is critical stuff. I mean, this is really good stuff that you're teaching, and you're teaching people, hey, you got in business to help people. I understand and I respect that. I got in business to help people too, because I struggled. Like you tell your story. We didn't get into that, but you struggled in sales. You made the transition. This allows that person to just share that problem that somebody very similar to that and say, I want to help you too. Let's move forward.
And the approach, it's not gimmicky, and it's not hypey.
No.
It's benefit-driven selling, where you as the chiropractor, the consultant, the fill in the blank, whatever you do, you just bring forth the benefits that you can offer to somebody else, and then you guide them to a sale, and they're going to want to buy from you.
Yeah. And I think it takes this, we started out talking about the stigma of sales. Mm-hmm. And I think it's interesting that we got to this point, because I believe in my heart, just by hearing, I mean, I've heard you say this before, but this is really sunk in now. This helps remove the stigma of sales. Yeah. Because really, I mean, it takes that dirtiness that we talked about, that hypocrisy that many people have. They want the end result. They don't want to do it. This allows them to be able to do it in a positive environment of just saying, hey, here's the problem. I know people that had the same problem. This is the product or service that they did. Here's the result. Here's the benefit of the benefit. I like how you put that in. So he's not only pain free, right? Because I went right to pain free. You then said he's now playing golf once a week, and he hasn't golfed for 10 years. He's now golfing 10 times over the course of the summer with his family. They're bonding. The kids are having fun. And it's just, please give us a 1-800-871-0147 or click on the blue button that says Buy Magnetic Marketing. It will help change your lead generation systems and processes. It's practically done for you. You just have to kind of just modify it to fit your own story. And now you know how to close all the leads that you're going to get in this system. We talked a lot about Eric's process, which is, the sales mountain. I did a really bad drawing of the sales mountain on the white screen, but you talk a little bit about that, the importance of scripting. We really went hard on scripting, and I wanted to do that a lot with Eric, though we talk a lot about that. Eric is big fan of scripting. I highly recommend you look at his work and look at the work that he does with Dr. Moyne about the power of words, because the words aren't just done casually. They're done very thoughtfully. And then we talked a little bit about the close, the importance of the transitions, and the close itself is transition, body, and final. And then we talked about the power of stories. Did we leave anything out, Eric? I think we've left it all in the field.
We covered a lot of content.
Man, this was good. I got 3 pages of notes, baby. I didn't even have to draw your mountain on that because I did it on the whiteboard. So thank you for your time. You're gracious. I know we're going to do some more stuff with you, kind of bring your teachings to the masses of GKIC. Those of you that don't have the marketing system of magnetic marketing, I don't know why you're waiting, but you need to put it in the cart now. You need to give us a call, 1-800-871-0147, or click on the button. Eric, I'm going to let you run. I know you got to get to a client meeting. Everybody that's on, thank you. Please take advantage of everything. Hey, do you have any bonuses before I do that? You got any bonuses for our folks that you're going to throw out there?
Yeah, we do have my most popular audio program ever. In the 18 years I've been doing this is called How to Become a Sales Superstar. And so that bonus, and I'm not sure what all that's involved that they need to do to get the bonus, but
they got to buy. And then once they buy, we'll send the bonus to them. And then everybody that's on that already has made the investment, we don't punish them. So they get the bonus. So we take care of that. But they got to buy. So they don't get the bonus unless they buy, baby. Yeah.
So those of you, when you purchase the program, you're going to get my most popular audio program ever called How to Become a Sales Superstar. And you'll receive that as a free bonus for purchasing.
All right. Eric, you're generous with your time, but most importantly, the work you do is important and you do good work, right? There's a lot of guys out there in sales training. You're about as good as they come. You've been doing it for 19 plus years. And your stuff works and your teaching is great and it's very sound. And anybody could do it. And we want to get you from feeling like this with sales, like Eric's visually did, to making you say, I love this. This is great. And thank you for your time, Eric.
You're welcome, Nick.
All right. Take care. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.